She knocked only to survive. He opened the door just to pass another night in silence. But fate had other plans. Abigail and Cole were strangers bound by loss, until danger forced them to become something more. Not just survivors, not just protectors. Family. The wind screamed to the valley like a wounded animal. Snow came sideways, slicing the dying light, erasing trails, trees, everything. It was a whiteout, just white and more white, as far as the eye could beg to see. Abigail Monroe pulled her threadbare shawl tighter across her shoulders, though the wind still bit through the holes like teeth. Her bones ached with every step. Behind her, 3 small shadows struggled through the storm. Jackson, the oldest at 10, kept his jaw clenched, eyes narrowed against the sting. Clara, barely 8, clung to his side, tripping more often now, her small boots barely holding together. And Henry, 5-year-old Henry, whimpered softly, ice clinging to his mittens as he gripped his mother's tattered skirts. Abigail didn't know how much farther they could go. Didn't know if she could go. But she couldn't stop. Not after what Nathan did. Not after he rode off. His voice still echoing in her ears like a cruel wind. You'll figure out, Abby. You always do. He hadn't just left to find supplies. He'd left for good. Left them stranded at Dry Creek's edge with a bag of cornmeal and the bitter stink of abandonment. So she walked, through storm, through ache, through silence, until she saw it. A light, flickering faint through pine and snow. A cabin. Her knees nearly gave, but she gritted her teeth. Come on, she rasped the children. Just a little more. They stumbled together, half dragging Henry, until she reached the door. She raised her raw knuckles and knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. Nothing. She knocked again, harder. Her voice cracked when she tried to call out, but it was barely more than a breath. Then, at last, the door creaked open. A man stood framed in firelight. Tall, broad, silent. His coat hung heavy off his frame, snow clinging to his shoulders. His face was hard, sharp lined with a beard that hadn't seen a razor in weeks. But it was his eyes that gave Abigail pause. They were cold, but not unkind. Behind her, 3 shivering children clung to her skirts. The man's jaw clenched. He stepped aside. Get in. She didn't wait. Abigail ushered the children inside, nearly collapsing through the threshold. The door slammed shut behind them, sealing out the wind's wail. Warmth hit like a wave, fire crackling, the scent of pine and smoke. The man moved quickly, dragging chairs close to the hearth. Sit, he said. Get warm. She obeyed, tugging scarves free, fingers trembling as she unwrapped the children. Jackson helped Clara out of her soaked coat. Henry buried himself in Abigail's lap, his tears finally falling now that he was warm. The man disappeared briefly, returning with thick quilts and a steaming kettle. Drink, he said, pouring hot water into chipped mugs. Ain't much, but it's better than outside. Abigail nodded, murmured cracked. Thank you. He grunted. He didn't ask questions. Not at first. You come far, he finally asked. She looked at the children, now curled on the rug, still trembling. 3 days, she whispered. From east of Dry Creek. Wagon busted. We walked. The man didn't blink. Why? The word was sharp, but fair. Abigail swallowed. Left, she said. Had to. That seemed enough for him. Cole Hart, he said finally. Abigail Monroe. She gestured at the children. Jackson, Clara, and Henry. Cole's eyes softened just slightly as he looked at the smallest one curled like a pup at her feet. You're safe here, he said simply. Storm ain't going anywhere. Neither are you. By morning, the storm had softened into a whisper. Abigail stirred first, her back stiff from sleeping upright. The children were warm now, pink-cheeked. Henry still curled into Clara's side. She brushed a hand over their hair before rising and peering around the cabin. Everything inside was worn but clean. Tools hung neatly. A shelf of books stood by the door. A map nailed to the wall. This was a place made for solitude. She found Cole outside splitting kindling with steady precision. Snow dusted his shoulders, but he didn't seem to feel it. "You don't have to do all this for us," she said gently. He didn't look up. "Not doing it for you," he said. "Doing it for Stove. Stove don't care who's hungry." She bit back a smile. She recognized his kind. Men who carried their kindness like burdens. Quiet, solitary, reliable. Instead of arguing, she bent and began gathering wood. "You could have stayed inside," he muttered. "Feels better to move," she said simply. He didn't argue. They worked in silence, the sky brightening to a pale gray above them. By the time they came in, the children had stirred. Jackson helped Cole with the animals. Cole taught him to swing the axe without wasting strength. Clara helped Abigail with the stew, while Henry followed Cole everywhere, firing off questions with childlike wonder. "Do bears ever come here? What's that knife for? Can I have a horse someday?" Cole answered every one. Patient, steady. By nightfall, the cabin felt different. Laughter returned. The silence was no longer heavy. It was shared. Abigail watched Cole from across the room, carving a bird from a block of pine. His hands were slow, careful, as though shaping more than wood. "You're good at that," she said quietly. "Wind doesn't howl so loud when I'm carving," he replied. She tilted her head. "You're kinder than you let on." He didn't smile, but his lips twitched, and that, for a man like Colehart, was nearly the same thing. The trouble comes back. The next day dawned clearer. Snow still lingered, but the wind had lost its edge. They had just begun to believe they were safe, until they heard hooves. 3 riders. Cole's eyes narrowed as he stepped onto the porch. Abigail came behind him, freezing as the lead rider dismounted. Nathan Crowley, her husband. "Afternoon," Nathan called with a smug grin. "Didn't think you'd be this easy to find, Abby." She stepped closer to Cole. "What do you want?" Nathan swung off his horse like he owned the ground. "Come now, don't be cold. I've thought it over. I'm ready to be a husband again, a father." "You stopped being both when you left us to die," she snapped. He ignored the words. "We'll leave in the morning. The children need structure. A man's hand." Cole's jaw flexed. "This ain't your home." Nathan's gaze flicked to him. "And you are—" "The man who's here," Cole replied. Nathan came back the next day with the sheriff and court papers. But Cole had something better. The townsfolk. One by one, they emerged from trees and paths. Doc Turner, Miss Lovell, the preacher, all silent, all present. They'd seen Abigail rebuild. They'd seen Cole step up. They weren't letting her go. When Nathan tried to claim the law, Cole stepped forward, voice steel. "You left them. We didn't." And when Sheriff McAllister looked at the crowd, then to Nathan, he sighed and folded the paper. This piece of law don't mean much if no one enforces it. Nathan cursed, mounted, and rode off. The silence afterward was thick with more than fear. It was filled with relief. That night, Abigail stood beside Cole at the fire. The children slept again, unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. "I don't know what I would have done without you," she whispered. Cole looked down at her. "You don't have to wonder," he said. She reached for his hand, held it. "Thank you." "For family," he said quietly. "I'd do more." 1 year later. Spring hadn't come with flowers. It had come with mud. The snow melted slow and mean, like it was unwilling to give up the fight. But Whispering Pines held steady like it always did. The river ran high. The trees drank deep. And Colehart's cabin, now patched and expanded with Abigail's careful touch, stood firm against the wind. Inside, the children laughed. Jackson, taller now, hauled in wood without being asked. Clara set the table with a crooked little smile, humming one of the songs Miss Lovell taught her at the church school. Henry was still Henry. He chased the barn cat with more energy than sense. Abigail stood at the window, drying her hands, watching them. This place had become more than safe. It had become home. And yet, as she glanced out toward the trail that disappeared into the woods, she couldn't shake the feeling. Peace like this doesn't last forever. Cole was late. He'd gone into town that morning for supplies, just a simple trip, but something gnawed at her. Maybe it was the way crows had gathered on the fence line. Maybe it was how quiet the wind had gone. Or maybe it was a letter they'd found last week, unmarked, stuffed under the door. I know where you are. Just 5 words. But they'd sliced through her like a blade. She hadn't told the children. Not yet. Not until she knew what it meant. Out on the trail, Cole Hart felt it too. He'd ridden into town early, bartered some furs, picked up sugar and nails. Simple things. Normal things. But something wasn't right. Sheriff McAllister had been cagey, and folks on Main Street had looked at him with those sideways glances he remembered from before, the kind people give when they know something you don't. When he asked the barkeep, the man just shrugged. Stranger was asking around last week. Road west. Name? Cole asked. Didn't give one, but he talked slick. Wore city boots. Cole gritted his teeth. City boots. Men like that didn't ride out this far unless they had business. Or a grudge. He rode hard back toward the cabin, cutting across old hunting trails. Snowmelt soaking his saddle. Dread pooled low in his gut. And sure enough, half a mile out, he saw the smoke. Not from his chimney. From the barn. When Cole burst from the trees, he saw Abigail pulling water buckets with one hand and ushering the children toward the root cellar with the other. Flames curled up the barn's edge. The horse screamed inside. "Abby!" he shouted. Her eyes met his. Relief warred with fear. Someone locked the stall door. I couldn't get her out. He leapt from the saddle, stormed toward the barn, kicked the stall open with one brutal boot. The mare lunged out, wild-eyed but alive, and bolted toward the woods. Cole turned back to Abigail. "Everyone okay?" She nodded breathlessly. "Yes, we got out before it spread." Cole scanned the trees. The snow melt made everything smell of rot and smoke. Who did this? She hesitated, then finally said, "There was a letter last week. Someone's watching us." Cole's jaw tightened. "You should have told me. I didn't want to scare the kids." "They deserve to be ready," he said, voice tight. "And what would you have done?" she snapped. "Taken up arms? Scared them worse." "Better scared than gone," he growled. She didn't reply, just turned back toward the cabin. Cole stood there a moment, fists clenched, then followed. Inside, he found the children huddled close, Clara quietly brushing Henry's hair as he cried. Jackson stood near the door, holding Cole's old hunting knife, knuckles white. Cole took it gently from his hand. "You did good," he said, "but I'll handle the rest now." Jackson nodded, blinking fast. That night, they didn't sleep much. Abigail sat by the fire long after the flames had turned to ash. Cole paced near the door, rifle in his lap. Finally, she said, "Do you think it's him?" Cole didn't have to ask who she meant. "Nathan Crowley. I think men like him don't stay gone forever," he said. Abigail closed her eyes. "Then we'll have to end it." The next day, confirmation came. A boy rode up the trail, sweaty, wide-eyed, horse-lathered. He brought a note, scrawled in messy ink. "You've had your year, darling. Now I take back what's mine." Cole crumpled the paper in his fist. "We ride tonight." They didn't wait for trouble to find them. They rode into it. Abigail insisted on coming. "I've run before," she told him. "I'm done running." They left the children with Miss Lovell and the preacher, then rode south, down through Black Hollow Pass, where the rivers met the pines. Crowley had holed up in an old line shack near the ridgeline, just like Cole suspected. He wasn't alone. 2 men sat at the fire, rifles across their laps. But it was Nathan who stood in the doorway, arms spread like a preacher. "I knew you'd come," he said to Abigail, voice syrupy. Cole stepped forward. "This ends here." Nathan's smile turned sharp. "What makes you think I won't just shoot you where you stand?" Cole's eyes didn't flinch. "Because then you'll never see the children again." That gave him pause. Abigail stepped forward now, shoulders back. "You had your chance. You left us. You don't get to change your mind now." Nathan sneered. "You think this man can protect you? That cabin? That little town full of nobodies?" "Yes," she said quietly, "because they did when you didn't." The tension broke, like a snapped wire. Nathan reached for his gun. Cole was faster. The shot rang out loud and final. Nathan dropped, alive but bleeding. His gun kicked into the dust. His men ran. Abigail stared at the body on the ground, then looked at Cole, whose hand still trembled slightly from the recoil. "You didn't kill him," she whispered. "No," Cole said, "but I made sure he won't ever hurt you again." Weeks passed. The town moved on. The barn was rebuilt. The children laughed again. One afternoon, Clara asked, "Mama, is Cole our family now?" Abigail smiled as she stirred the stew. "Why do you ask, sweetheart?" "Because he always stays." Abigail looked out the window. Cole was hauling water, Jackson at his side. The sunlight fell over him like a warm promise. She smiled. "Yes, Clara, I think he is." And that evening, on the porch, Abigail turned to Cole and said, "You never asked me to stay." He looked at her carefully. "Didn't have to." She reached for his hand. "I'm not going anywhere." He looked at her, soft and serious, then said, "Good," and kissed her. Finally, the kind of kiss you don't rush, the kind you wait for, the kind that says you walked through storms together and came out standing,